Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia here, and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Stage 2, Week 4 preview. So, Week 4 is going to be a groundbreaking week for the Overwatch League. So, this will be the first time the Overwatch League in its regular season goes on the road. It is time for the Dallas Fuel Homestand. So, thank you to Dallas Fuel for hosting it at the Allen Event Center in North Texas. And it should be really interesting. Only 8 teams are going to make the trip to Dallas, though. So, or to Texas, I should rather say. It's going to be interesting. There will be a grand total of 8 games across 2 days, including on Saturday and on Sunday. And the times are actually much more EU-friendly than you might expect. So, the first game is EU-based in some respects, because we have the, what I want to call, from now on for a bit, the EU Derby. We have the Paris Eternal taking on the London Spitfire. This will be at 5 PM British Summer Time. So that's 6 PM in Europe. And this is going to be interesting. It'll be on Saturday, April the 27th. There'll be 4 games a day. So at 5 PM BST, you've got the Paris Eternal taking on London Spitfire. And this week could be quite a big week for London. It definitely is a big week for Paris, because they really need to get some wins on the board if they want to get into those stage playoffs. But London could seal their stage playoffs if they can go 2-0 this week. I don't know. I mean, London are looking so much stronger than they were in stage 1. And the win last week over Boston was a real sort of proofreading for me for London. If they could do it against an opponent that could theoretically match them. No way in hell was that match ever matched in some respects. London dominated that match from start to finish. So I think you'd have to back London to win against Paris right now. A flip from what was happening in early stage 1, where Paris did beat London 3-1, I believe. So yeah, I think London should be able to get the win over Paris here, but it might be a close match. I'm sure Paris won't want to go down without a big old fight. At 6:15 BST, that's 7:15 quarter to 7 BST, or 7:45 in Europe, I'll get there in a minute, we have the Hangzhou Spark taking on the Chengdu Hunters. Big game for both teams. Both really need a win. I think Chengdu edge it right now, simply because their DPS comp is working to some extent against teams, and I think Hangzhou will struggle to counter that. But again, you could see a lot of these games this week go really, really close. So it should be a real thrilling week of Overwatch. So I don't know, I will back Chengdu right now, but it could go either way if Hangzhou really turn up. 8:30 BST, or 9:30 in Europe, we have the Houston Outlaws. Yes, they are also going to Texas, what a surprise, taking on the Seoul Dynasty. So, I would expect the Seoul Dynasty to win this. It's a must-win for Houston if they want to get to stage playoffs. But I'm not sure I see Houston actually picking up any wins this week. So, yeah, I mean, it's a must-win for Houston, but I really don't see past Seoul winning that one. 10:15 in BST, or 11:15 in Europe, we have the Los Angeles Valiant in action against the homeboys Dallas Fuel. So I would expect Dallas Fuel to go 2-0 this week. I'm sure there'll be some disappointment in Dallas if they don't. But Valiant should give a good account of themselves here. I'd expect Valiant to give a good account of themselves in both games and maybe win the second. But Valiant are definitely on the up right now, and I think they can give Dallas Fuel a real run for their money. But you look at Dallas Fuel's results last week, they certainly need to bounce back after a bad week, Dallas. So you might see a real resurgence from Dallas, especially it being their homestand. So moving on to the Sunday, we have the Hangzhou Spark taking on the Paris Eternal at 6:00 BST, or 7:00 in Europe. So this will be a very close game, I think. If the results go the way I expect them to in the first day, then it's definitely a must-win. I would actually go for Hangzhou to win this. I just think I've just got this feeling Hangzhou might have a bit of a resurgence this week. I have no idea why, but it's just that one of those gut feelings. Paris should make it really close though, and Paris could win it. It's not impossible. It should be a really close game, and it should be a really good game. One of the games of the week, I would expect. But to be quite honest, it's quite hard to pick games of the week this week because they could all be really close. Yes, even the Houston ones. So, yeah, it's really hard to pick it, but I would go and edge Hangzhou just off gut feeling. At 7:45 BST, or 8:45 in Europe, we have the Chengdu Hunters in action again against the London Spitfire. Now, this is what I mean. Two mid-table teams. Chengdu are farther up the table than Paris are. The past 3 games, the 2 games this week and the one against Boston, are real tellers for London's placing right now. If they again can go 2-0 this week, they should secure their stage playoffs. I mean, that'll put them on a 6-0 record. I think that actually will qualify them. So, of course it will, because LA Gladiators has already qualified. Again, this could be a weird one, because Chengdu will play their DPS heavy stuff, and I think we all know about Jinmu's Farah, but this will also kind of play into London's hands, because this might force London onto DPS, and we know what London are like on DPS, and if they go DPS, then we might see Gesture on Winston, which is absolutely his tank comfort pick. Fury on Diva. It's comfort picks for London Spitfire that you're forcing them into if you go DPS against them. So, again, I would edge London, but I'm almost certain it'll be such a close game. And if it isn't, and London go 4-0 in both of these games, London really have stepped up since stage 1. That's all I can say. 9:30 BST, or 10:30 in Europe, we have the Seoul Dynasty in action against the Los Angeles Valiant. Now, in my opinion, just because of the crowd that will be there, this will be much more winnable for Valiant than the first game. So, if Valiant can get a win over Seoul, then that's a big teller of how far they've come since the first stage. But, I don't know. It's a difficult one to call. Again, most of them are, as they keep saying this week. If you go on paper, Seoul should win it. But Seoul are looking inconsistent. I mean, it's better than the Seoul we saw last season at times, but we see an inconsistent Seoul. Again, a lot of these teams are inconsistent, so it's very difficult to predict this season so far. That's all I can say. And the last game, at 11:15 BST, which will be 11:15 midnight in Europe, the only one that starts past midnight. This will be the Texas Derby. It will be Houston Outlaws taking on the Dallas Fuel. Now, I think you would expect this if it was the Dallas Fuel's homestand. I don't see past Dallas. I think it could be one of the more one-sided games of the week, to be quite honest with you, because it's just, I don't see it being close. Dallas, in my opinion, they look waves ahead of Houston right now. In terms of skill, in terms of teamwork, in terms of coordination, Houston looked all over the place in the previous few games. So, yes, I would go for a Dallas win here. But, it's in Texas, and Houston would love to upset Dallas on home soil. And it could well happen. So, those are your fixtures for the Dallas Fuel homestand. And I really hope Dallas can put on a good show. I think they've sold out all the tickets. It looks really, really promising. And it should be a hell of an atmosphere. Especially when Dallas Fuel are playing. But it should be a hell of an atmosphere. And I hope we can get a really good atmosphere, because I'd imagine, like, next year, we're going to have all these teams playing at home, right? Imagine Paris Eternal versus the London Spitfire in France. I know what if you've watched the French team play, the Paris and especially the French crowd are insane. And so games like this, especially with Dallas at home, I hope to see a real following, a real atmosphere in these places that will make them fearful to come to for other teams. I want when you go home and away in 2020 season, I want teams to fear, oh my god, I've got to go to Paris. Oh my god, their crowd is so daunting. Or I've got to go to Dallas. Oh god, that's such a pressure place to go. You've got to fear going to that team's home ground. And it'll be so interesting to see how this works. And it'll be interesting to see how Dallas work off of the crowd. And to Houston to some extent, it's in Texas, but it is technically Dallas's homestand. It'll be interesting to see how some of these teams, especially Dallas, work off of the crowd. Because it can go two ways. Dallas can feel the pressure, or Dallas can be absolutely ramped up and be nigh unstoppable in front of a home crowd. So it'll be really interesting to see, and it's uncharted territory for the Overwatch League. Of course, this is not the only time the Overwatch League goes on the road. It will go on the road in Stage 3 in Week 5, where it will go to Atlanta, and in Stage 4, Week 5, where it will go to LA. Yeah, it's Valiant's homestand, that stage. It'll be really interesting. Next week we'll be back to a lot more fixtures than we have this week. But a lot of things will be decided by then. So, for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then!